On these motions that we just talked about, let's listen in.
L'avis de motion que j'ai donné tout à l'heure concernant la demande que je fais à la Chambre de suspendre sans salaire les sénateurs
Duffy, Wallen, and Brazo concerning
la mauvaise conduite,
the poor conduct, I'd even say the gross misconduct. So therefore, a grossly negligent conduct in the administration of funds that were done over the past few months. So the motion was presented today and will be before the Senate on Tuesday. There are three different motions because these are three situations that are different, but which bring the same type of conduct, gross misconduct, for each of these senators, and this is why I'm suggesting the suspension to the end of the session. Mr. Carignan? Inaudible. The government? No, not at all. This is something that I think those who were involved in the internal management, where we heard Duffy's interview, this angered me enormously from the very beginning. I think it angers also a lot of Canadians that people are using abusing the privilege that they have to give themselves major advantages, among others, including money. I think that when you have a position of privilege, you need to respect the citizens, and you have to conduct yourself with dignity. And I think that these behaviors demonstrated by these three colleagues have attacked this dignity. So not only did this put a lid on the contrary, I think it's making decisions that need to be made to sanction, to provide disciplinary sanctions of these colleagues. So I would say I open the problems rather than put a lid on it. Listen, I learned earlier.
For the first? For both? Okay, perfect. Okay. It's something that I heard this at the end of the morning. So for me, it's not affect my proposition, my motion. He will have the possibility to come Tuesday to explain why he was not supposed to have a sanction against him. He will have the opportunity to speak again, or to move amendment. He could explain his case Tuesday, and if he have a medical problem, we will see Tuesday. But for the motion, for me, we want to continue for the suspension.
Could still be suspended without pay, even though he's on medical leave.
Yes, he could. He could be suspended.
Some liberals are saying that you were taking the principle of innocent until proven guilty by suspending these people. Not at all. So nobody has been charged here. What do you answer to that? The request I'm making is due to the power to discipline a member. People all have jobs, so I'm conscious that if you do an action with regard to your employer, an inappropriate action, or you take money, you can be pursued in the courts, so you'll be required to pay back the money. You could have disciplinary sanctions, so you could be fired or suspended, and your employer can also call the police, and you'll have criminal sanctions. So the same action perpetually can bring about different sanctions. So what we're asking to exercise here is to exercise the Senate's disciplinary action, which is recognized.
You want to suspend 3 of the Prime Minister's appointees. Does that not, the fact that you're about to suspend these, it's never done before, reflect badly on the judgment of the Prime Minister?
Non, écoutez, je pense pas qu'on est là pour juger.
Listen, I don't think we are here to judge.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, it's good. Now look here, we are about the behavior of 3 senators, and it's not here if they are liberals or if they are conservative or they are independents. The principle is that when you have a bad behavior and you use your privilege to abuse of the power, and it could imply a disciplinary sanction, that's what we're doing now, that I move. So it's only disciplinary, and it's not a liberal, a conservator, or an independent. It's a senator that they didn't respect the dignity and the rules of the Senate.
One final question? One final question?
Écoutez, vous avez vu le
Listen,
processus
you've seen the process with regard to the investigations, reports, very thoroughly researched reports, one among others that was published in August that concerned Senator Wallen. And so for me, that was important. It was important to have the complete picture of the 3 situations. And as you've noticed, I'm exercising my functions, or I have been exercising my functions from the House. And we took 30 minutes to exercise these functions. I made a decision to give a notice for motion to suspend 3 senators without pay, and this is certainly not a question of conservative, liberal, or independent. Is this the end of the scandal with this conclusion? Listen, with regard to the 3, if they're suspended without pay and with no access to their assets, I would say that the process is over. I hope they get the message, because suspension of at least 2 years is fairly severe normally. So you correct your actions when you come back, and then as for the others, we will sanction. We can't accept, Canadians can't accept that people abuse their power and take advantage of citizens' money, and I insist on gross negligence. There's a way to use the monies that was really negligent. This is not an error of goodwill or accounting. You can see from the different reports that have been produced that this is gross negligence. And if it happens again, I hope, with all my heart, I hope not, but if it happens again, we will once again have to take disciplinary sanctions.
Senator, what is the bar for what they've done wrong? That's what a lot of senators are wondering today. You've determined these 3 have behaved in a negligent fashion. But how do you set the bar for what is or is not acceptable, given that you're all about to be audited? Are you going to suspend everybody that's made a mistake? Or, like, where is the bar? Is it 10,000?
It's not a question of money. It's a question of gross misconduct. And you have seen Senator Levine for 10,000 and he's in jail, but it's criminal. But now we don't know if it's criminal. It's under investigation. But in the exercise of our jurisdiction and our power, our disciplinary power, we have the fact that we have. Just to remind you that it's not it's not an amount of suspension that we put like that. We had research, and particularly in the House of Lords in 2010, 3 lords had the same type of behavior, and they were suspended. One for the up to the end of the session, and another for 8 months. So it's very severe sanction, but I think it's appropriate in this situation. There's also
2 more.
As to the money that Mr. Brazeau owes, because it has been taken from his salary every month, what happens to that bill?
It's administrative situation. I suppose that I don't know if he finished to reimburse. If it's finished, it will be correct. If not, I suppose it will restart at the end of the suspension, or it could have a civil action directly.
So he could be back. He could would be back in the House Senate.
Those three are terminated? So we're talking rather of expulsion? No, it's a suspension. It's to the end of the session. We expect if the session is 6 months or after 6 months, the next session will have to re-examine the situation. If the session lasts 2 years, well, after 2 years, we'll have to reconsider the question. And if there are new facts with regard to criminal actions, at that time, there will be an expulsion. Well, this is more than temporary. This is a suspension of 2 years. Well, it's to the end of the session. So they could come back. If they're not accused, criminally charged, they could come back. The Senate will have to re-examine at the beginning of the next session.
Yes, I hope so. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, so you were listening to Claude Carignan, the leader of the government in the Senate. He was referencing the fact that they have tabled 3 motions in the Senate today. They will be those motions will be voted on Tuesday, but those motions are in reference to suspending without pay to the end of the session Senators Pamela Wallin, Mike Duffy, and Patrick Brazeau. The motion specifically would take away Senate resources, would give no reimbursement of bills and no living allowances, and we heard Claude Carignan say that what they did was not an error of goodwill but gross negligence, and that he believes it's very severe sanctions but appropriate. Now, just before he was speaking, we were talking to our political panel conveniently, and they were listening in on what